Hi guys, it is Sassy Sky. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the palettes that I pulled for my fall inspiration. Most of these palettes I've only used one, maybe two times, so I don't have a lot of concrete thoughts on them, but I've been buying a ton of eyeshadow palettes and I had to sit myself down and just say, hey, fall is coming. I know you're like wanting the grungy looks. Can you pull from your collection? Just start experimenting, see what palettes you already have that you've only used maybe once, maybe two times, three. Use them a little more, get a kind of feel for what you have before you start bringing in more eyeshadow palettes. Girl, you don't need any more makeup. So that is what we're going to do today. I know that was a super long intro into today's video, but let's just jump into it. Okay, let's start with smaller palettes that I think would kind of complement each other's color stories. So when I first started pulling palettes, I was pulling neutral palettes only. I was gonna do my favorite neutral palettes and kind of go from there, but then I realized, hey, you have a lot of palettes that you haven't shown a lot of love to. Maybe you should just pull 10 or 12 that are specifically for the next upcoming months that you just want to use because you have a lot of new eyeshadow palettes coming in. Maybe show a little love to your old ones. So that's what I did. So the first palettes I pulled are from e.l.f. These are their bite-size palettes. This one's pumpkin pie and this one's cream and sugar. These two I feel pair really well together because I feel like cream and sugar maybe has like one range of depth to the next and there's nothing in between, and I feel like pumpkin pie has almost too much depth. I feel like they just complement each other really well and I wanted to use them both together, especially because this one's pumpkin pie and pumpkin season is among us. I know it's like end of August, beginning of September, but I am ready. I'm over summer. I might have a very bright summer look on, but I'm done. I'm over it. I'm ready for fall. And I think you can wear whatever color eyeshadow you want to wear whenever. And so because of that, I also pulled out my Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. I've only used this one time and I really enjoy it, but I just feel like I need to use it a little more. And I know that berries aren't necessarily fall tones, and I know that when you think of fall, you don't really necessarily think of like purple, but they're really deep. So I figured the depth that they have could work really well. Maybe I'll incorporate it with another palette. I've only used it a couple times, so I figured now would be a perfect time to just continue using it. And then my last, like, I call them smaller shades because they're less than 10, are the Kaleidos Futurism 4? V is 4, right? And the Futurism 3. So this is the Futurism 3 palette. Again, it's more neutral with like that deep berry tone. I think it would pair really well with my Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. It does have, sorry, it's not wanting to focus. Okay, there we go. It does have this sparkly black shade that I'm interested in playing with. I also really like this blue. So pretty. I want to use this so bad. I've used this palette once because there's like some brush indentation on the mattes in here. I have not tried the shimmers. So I want to get some use out of that. And then also the Futurism 4. Now this is probably not the most fall toned palette. I want to try incorporating this bright orange into some of the looks. So it might not necessarily be the whole palette that I'm pulling in, but especially like this orange shade and this brown shade and maybe this like deep blue. And then the last smaller palette is 8 shades, and this is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette, which I'm sure you've seen before. This to me feels very fall, especially like these two greens right here and all the way down. Not these two on the end, they're a little light, but definitely this shade all the way down to this gold. I have used this like 3 or 4 times and I really like the shimmers in it, but I have not used the two mattes. And I think with fall coming up on us, I feel like this would just be a really, really good palette to break out, you know, use a little. I know Melt's formula isn't the most stable and I have had this for quite a bit, so I really should focus on using it before I can't use it. And I have 2 palettes from Alter Ego. I have the Sahara palette and the Goddess palette. Now the Goddess is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette, so it's got a lot of neutrals with a few pops of light green and blue. We'll see how much use I actually get out of this palette, but I just kind of like the deeper tones that it has. I like the shimmers. I have only used this palette once. And then I have the Sahara, which I believe is the Biba dupe. And this is a mostly neutral palette. But I don't know, I just kind of figured I would like to have one fully neutral palette to choose from. It does have like a mustardy shade right here and some ranges of browns, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm just giving myself options and pulling them out of my drawers, because if they're in my drawers, I mean, like, don't really out of sight, out of mind type of thing. This is the Profusion Wanderlust palette. Now, you're probably looking at this saying, Skylar, that's not a fall palette. If you cover up these 9 shades, the rest that you're left with, it seems pretty fall to me. It's nice and green. There's some browns in there. I think it's just gonna go really well, especially with a lot of the other palettes I've chosen. I'm not specifically using one palette over the other. Like, these are all maybe just to incorporate with each other. This palette is the most fall, maybe the second most fall in my collection. It's ABH's Subculture palette. Now, this is the original Subculture, so it hadn't altered formulation, so it is the super hard to work with powdery formulation, which is fine. I have only used this like 3 or 4 times. I really want to get into it because you have like these beautiful mustards, these greens, you have a yellow, you have like some lighter pinks, and this beautiful shimmer right here. Oh, that one's beautiful. So I just feel like this has been kind of like sitting in the back of my drawers. It really needs to get played with. It just needs to get used. It's probably like one of my oldest palettes. I did buy it at TJ Maxx after the whole debacle with this, so that kind of tells you how old it is. And the one palette that I have actually used probably like 3 times now, 3 or 4 times, so like a little bit more than the rest, but like still on par with the rest, is the Naked Honey palette. Now, this palette truly is a fall palette. It really has like your mustards, your browns, it's got the honey colors. It's very much along the lines of fall, so I do want to pull this out. I do want to use it. And last but not least, this is my favorite fall time palette besides Naked Honey. I think Naked Honey is beautiful and like to die for. It is the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. This came out last year. This was Manny's holiday palette. I'm really hoping he comes out with new makeup soon, because if he's coming out with anything that's like this again, take my money. I just really want one whole palette with his flaky glitter formula, because I love it. It's like my favorite glitter formula. It doesn't have too much fallout. It's like nice and flaky, doesn't get in your eye, doesn't hurt you. Well, at least it hasn't hurt me yet. I want a whole palette with just a range of these shades, because this one and his Strawberry Dream, like his matte formula is amazing, but honestly, his shimmer and glitter formula, to die for. Anyways, so, you know, I did say you don't really think of berries when you think of fall, but this palette has a whole row of berries, so like maybe I was on the right lines of pulling that out. This is just so beautiful. You have some greens, you got your browns, some berries. I feel like this is kind of like my version of fall, is this. Because I really like the Naked Honey palette, you know. It has all of your mustardy honey, but it has like just your fall tones, right? And I obviously pulled out a lot of berry shades and a couple blues, so. And I kind of forgot what the inside of this palette looked like, just because I haven't used it for very long, and I only used it like 2 or 3 times. Looking at it again, I'm like, okay, so yeah, this like is my perfect range of fall, and I mean, I'm wearing purple today to talk about fall. Like, it kind of makes sense. I don't know how long I'm gonna have these out, probably until maybe like mid-October, so I will keep a running tally of how much I use each palette. Let me know if you guys want to know all my favorite fall things. I know it's like not really fall yet, and we still have a little bit of time, but I'm into it right now. Alright guys, that does it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I'm also very interested to see what kind of palettes you guys are using, what looks you're creating, if you're using any of the similar palettes I have, and I'm pretty excited to make some looks with them. I will see you guys in my next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, hit the like button if you liked it. I will leave all my social medias down below, including the playlist I'm listening to currently on Apple Music. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye! Fucking A, what am I talking about? Oh, what you can pull from what collection that you already have, I already said that. Bleh. My desk will just it is what it is.